The morning sun was rising over New Seoul Colony when Kim Dae-ho finished his shift at the mining facility. He walked through the busy streets feeling good about another day of work. The colony was home to 9 million people who had built a beautiful world from nothing but rocks and dreams. Children ran to school while their parents opened shops and started their daily jobs. Everyone knew everyone in this peaceful place far from Earth. Kim Dae-ho stopped at Park Minas Bakery to buy bread for his family. She smiled and handed him the warm loaf while talking about her daughter's school play next week. The whole colony would come to watch because that was how things worked in New Seoul. They were all one big family helping each other survive and grow in the cold darkness of space. Lee Soo-jin was teaching her class of 30 young students when the first explosion shook their school building. The children looked scared, but she told them it was probably just the mining equipment making noise. She did not know that something terrible was about to happen to everyone she loved, high above. The colony, a small black ship, had landed without anyone seeing it. Inside that ship was Vextar, the most dangerous warrior the Hegemony Empire had ever created. He stood 12 feet tall with 4 powerful arms and skin like armor plates. His people had sent him to New Seoul Colony with one simple job: kill everyone. The Hegemony Empire ruled over hundreds of worlds across the galaxy. They were the strongest and most feared race anyone had ever seen. But lately they had been watching humans spread from planet to planet, building colonies and making friends with other alien races. The hegemony leaders did not like this. Humans were supposed to be weak and stay on their home world Earth. Vex-Tar had fought in more wars than he could count. He had destroyed entire cities and killed thousands of enemy soldiers. But this mission was different. These were not soldiers or warriors. These were just normal people living normal lives, families with children, old people and young people, teachers and workers and doctors. They had no weapons and no way to fight back. The alien warrior stepped out of his ship and looked at the peaceful colony spread out below him. He could see people walking in the streets and children playing in parks. Smoke rose from chimneys and lights twinkled in windows. It looked like a happy place where good people lived good lives. But Vextar felt nothing when he saw this. Hisses. People had trained him to feel nothing, except the need to complete his mission. He activated his weapon and aimed it at the colony's main power station. The blast turned the entire building into dust and flames. Suddenly, all the lights went out across New Seoul Colony. People started coming out of their houses to see what had happened. They pointed at the smoke and talked to each other in worried voices. None of them knew they were looking at their own death. Kim Dae-ho dropped his bread and ran toward the power station to help. That was the kind of person he was. When something bad happened, he wanted to fix it and help people. Many other colony workers ran with him. They thought it was an accident or maybe equipment failure. They had tools and knowledge and willing hands. They thought they could make everything better, but when they got close to where the power station used to be, they saw something that made their blood turn cold. A giant alien creature stood in the smoking ruins holding a weapon that hummed with deadly energy. Vextar looked at the humans running toward him and felt only mild interest. These soft, weak creatures thought they could help. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The alien raised his weapon and fired again. The blast hit the group of workers and turned them all to ash in less than a second. Kim Dae-ho was gone. The man who had bought bread for his family and worried about his neighbors was nothing but dust floating in the wind. Vextar felt satisfied. This was going exactly as planned. Back at the school, Lee Soo-jin heard the second explosion and knew something was very wrong. She told her students to hide under their desks and stay very quiet. Some of the children started crying, but she made her voice calm and gentle. She did not want them to be scared, even though she was more frightened than she had ever been in her life. The alien warrior began walking through the colony streets with slow, deliberate steps. His weapon charged and fired again and again. Every blast destroyed buildings and killed everyone inside. Families hiding in their homes, workers trying to escape, old people who could not run fast enough, children who did not understand what was happening. All of them died in bright flashes of alien energy. Park Mina was hiding in her bakery when Vexstar found her. She begged him to let her live. She told him about her daughter and how she just wanted to see her little girl grow up. The alien looked at this crying human woman and felt nothing at all. His weapon fired once and Park Mina was gone. Her warm bread still sat on the counter, but she would never see her daughter again. The massacre continued for 6 long hours. Vexstar moved through the colony like death itself. He destroyed the communication system so no one could call for help. He blew up all the escape pods so no one could run away. He hunted down every single person who tried to hide. Men, women, children, babies, old people, young people. It did not matter to him. They all had to die. At the school, Lee Soo-jin heard the alien getting closer. The sound of his footsteps echoed through the empty hallways. She gathered her 30 students in a closet and stood in front of the door. If this monster wanted to hurt her children, he would have to go through her first. She was just a teacher with no weapons and no training, but she had something more powerful than any gun. She had love for her students, and she would die before letting anything happen to them. Vex-tar found the school and walked inside. He could smell the humans hiding somewhere in the building. Fear had a particular scent that his people could detect from far away. He followed that smell until he found the closet where Lee Soo-jin stood guard over her students. She looked up at the 12-foot-tall alien warrior and did not move away from the door. The alien raised his weapon but paused for just a moment. This human female was not running or begging or crying. She was standing between him and her young ones like a mother protecting her babies. In any other species, this would have earned his respect. But Vexstar had been taught that humans were worthless and weak. His hesitation lasted only a second before his weapon fired. Lee Soo-jin died protecting her students, but it was not enough. The alien pushed past her body and killed all 30 children in the closet. Their small voices were silenced forever. The teacher who had read them stories and helped them learn and made them laugh would never hold them again. When the sun set on New Seoul Colony, 9 million people were dead. Every man, woman, and child had been murdered by one alien warrior in a single day. Vexstar stood in the central plaza surrounded by the burning ruins of what had been a beautiful, peaceful place. He activated a quantum beacon that would broadcast across the galaxy. The alien warrior wanted everyone to see what he had done. He wanted all humans on all worlds to know what happened when they made the Hegemony Empire angry. The footage showed the smoking ruins and the empty streets and the terrible silence where happy voices used to be. His message was simple and clear. Humans were weak and defenseless. They would all die just like the people of New Seoul Colony unless they went back to Earth and never came out again. Vexstar settled down to wait in the ruins of the colony. He knew Earth would send soldiers to try to stop him. When they came, he would kill them too and broadcast that as well. He would show the galaxy that humans had no warriors strong enough to challenge the Hegemony Empire. He would prove that they were nothing but soft, weak creatures who deserved to be wiped out, but the alien warrior did not know what he had really done. He thought he had sent a message of fear that would make humans run and hide. Instead, he had awakened something in the human heart that was far more dangerous than any weapon. He had made them angry, and when humans got truly angry, they became something that even the Hegemony Empire had never seen before. The footage of New Seoul Colony's destruction would reach Earth in 3 days. When it did, everything would change. The galaxy was about to learn that there were worse things than hegemony warriors in the darkness between stars. Sometimes the most terrifying monsters were the ones who fought for love. 3 days after the massacre, the terrible footage reached Earth. In government buildings across the planet, military leaders and politicians watched 9 million people die in 6 hours. They saw Kim Dae-ho running to help before he was turned to ash. They watched Park Mina beg for her life before the alien killed her. They witnessed Lee Soo-jin die protecting her students who were murdered anyway. General Park Soo-ho had fought in 12 wars, but he cried like a baby when he saw the children dying. Admiral Kim Min-woo threw his coffee cup at the wall and shouted words that would make his mother wash his mouth with soap. President Lee Hae-jin sat in complete silence for 20 minutes after the footage ended. Her hands shook with rage. She could barely control outside the government buildings. Angry crowds gathered in every major city on Earth. Millions of people demanded immediate war against the hegemony empire. They wanted blood for blood and death for death. Signs reading "Remember New Seoul" and "Kill them all" filled the streets. The peaceful planet that had not seen war in 50 years was ready to burn the galaxy down for revenge, but the military leaders knew the truth that made their hearts heavy with despair. Earth's regular army could not defeat a hegemony battle warrior like Vexstar. Their soldiers were brave and well-trained, but they were still normal humans. The alien that destroyed New Seoul Colony was something beyond normal understanding. He was a perfect killing machine created by a race that had been fighting wars for thousands of years, deep beneath the Pentagon in a bunker that did not exist. On any official map, Director Chun Hae-won made a decision that terrified her. She opened a vault that had been sealed for 15 years. Inside were files marked with warnings in every human language. Do not open unless the world is ending. Authorized. Personnel only. Maximum security clearance required. These files contained information about Earth's most dangerous secret. During the worst years of the Third World War, when humanity almost destroyed itself, some military scientists had asked a terrible question. What if we removed everything that made soldiers human and turned them into perfect killers? What if we took away their mercy, their fear, their doubt, and their ability to feel sorry for their enemies? The answer to that question had been Project Ghost. 2 volunteers had been selected from thousands of candidates. They were the best soldiers Earth had ever produced, but that was not enough. The scientists needed to make them into something more. Something that could fight monsters by becoming monsters themselves. Captain Jake Morrison had been the first volunteer. He was an American soldier who had never lost a battle and never left a man behind. But the Project Ghost scientists took him apart and put him back together like a machine. They replaced his bones with carbon fiber that was stronger than steel. They enhanced his muscles with synthetic fibers that could lift a car. They modified his nervous system so he could react faster than human thought, but the physical changes were nothing compared to what they did to his mind. Using drugs and surgery and psychological conditioning, they removed his ability to feel mercy during combat. They took away his fear and his doubt and his hesitation. They turned him into a weapon that looked human but thought like a computer. Programmed only for killing, Commander Rick Sullivan had been the second volunteer. He was a Navy SEAL who could kill a man with his bare hands or snipe a target from 2 miles away. The scientists gave him cybernetic implants that connected his brain directly to any weapon system. They enhanced his strength until he could punch through concrete walls. They modified his eyes so he could see in complete darkness, and his ears so he could hear a heartbeat from across a room. Like Morrison, they also changed his mind. The neural modifications removed every emotion except cold calculation. He could still remember why he was fighting, but he could no longer feel bad about the methods he used. He had become the perfect soldier for a war that required no conscience and no limits. Both men had officially died years ago. Morrison supposedly killed in Afghanistan in 2157. Sullivan allegedly drowned during a training accident in 2160. Their funerals had been attended by their families and their names were carved on memorials to fallen heroes. But they were not dead. They had been sleeping in a facility that did not exist, waiting for a war that required their particular skills. Director Kim Tae-woo had been in charge of Project Ghost from the beginning. He was the one who had made the decision to create these weapons disguised as men. He was also the one who had promised they would never be used unless humanity faced extinction. Looking at the footage from New Seoul Colony, he knew that time had finally come. The 2 ghosts were awakened in medical facilities buried so deep underground that even nuclear weapons could not reach them. Morrison opened his eyes after 5 years of artificial sleep and immediately asked for a situation report. His enhanced mind processed the information about New Seoul Colony without any visible emotion. 9 million dead civilians. 1 alien perpetrator. Mission parameters required immediate termination of hostile target. Sullivan awakened in a similar facility on the other side of the continent. His cybernetic systems automatically connected to the base's computer network and downloaded all available intelligence about the Hegemony Empire. His brain analyzed their weapons technology, their battle tactics, and their psychological profiles while his enhanced body prepared for combat. Both men were briefed separately by Director Kim, who looked older than his 60 years. The weight of creating these living weapons had aged him badly. He explained the situation in simple terms. An alien had murdered 9 million humans, including children. Earth wanted revenge, but their normal military could not provide it. The ghosts were being asked to do what they were designed for. Morrison listened to the briefing without asking questions. His modified mind had already calculated the most efficient methods for hunting and killing a hegemony warrior. He requested access to experimental weapons that had been developed specifically for Project Ghost, firearms that could penetrate alien armor, explosives that could level city blocks, chemical agents that could kill anything that breathed. Sullivan also requested specialized equipment, but his focus was different. He wanted access to the most advanced cybernetic interfaces so he could control multiple weapon systems simultaneously. He asked for portable quantum computers that could hack alien technology. He needed tools that would let him turn the entire colony into a weapon against their target. The mission briefing was delivered by General Park, who looked like he had not slept in days. The orders were unlike anything in military history. Travel to New Sol Colony, find the alien called Vexstar. Kill him in the most painful way possible. Make sure the entire galaxy watched him die. Show everyone what happened when someone hurt Earth's children. There would be no backup and no extraction. Plan, if they were captured, Earth would deny all knowledge of their existence. If they died, their bodies would be left to rot on an alien world. But if they succeeded, they would have avenged 9 million innocent people and shown the galaxy that humanity was not as weak as everyone believed. Morrison and Sullivan accepted their mission without hesitation. They had been created for this moment when normal soldiers were not enough. They were Earth's ultimate weapons, designed to fight wars that could not be won by heroes. They were monsters wearing human faces, and they were exactly what the situation required. The stealth ship, Silent Thunder, was prepared for their insertion. It was equipped with technology that had never been tested in combat and weapons that violated several interstellar treaties. The two ghosts boarded without ceremony or farewell speeches. They were not going to New Sol Colony as representatives of humanity. They were going as Death's angels sent to collect a debt written in innocent blood. As the ship left Earth orbit, Director Chun watched from the command center. She had awakened humanity's darkest creations and sent them to commit acts that would haunt her dreams forever. But she also knew it was necessary. The galaxy needed to learn that Earth had teeth hidden behind its peaceful smile. The Hegemony Empire was about to discover what happened when predators made the mistake of hunting human children. The stealth ship Silent Thunder approached New Sol Colony like a ghost floating through the darkness of space. Inside the ship, Morrison and Sullivan prepared their equipment with the cold efficiency of machines built for killing. They had studied every detail of the colony layout and memorized the locations where innocent people had died. Each death site was marked in their enhanced minds as a place where justice needed to be delivered. Morrison checked his rifle for the 20th time. The weapon had been designed specifically to kill hegemony warriors. Its bullets were made from compressed metal that could punch through alien armor like paper. The targeting system connected directly to his enhanced nervous system, allowing him to hit targets that normal humans could not even see. He was no longer entirely human, but he was exactly what Earth needed for this mission. Sullivan ran diagnostics on his cybernetic implants while interfacing with the ship's computer systems. His brain processed tactical data at superhuman speeds, calculating approach routes and weapon trajectories. The neural modifications had removed doubt and fear from his mind, leaving only cold purpose. He existed now for one reason only: to make the alien who killed children pay for what he had done. The Ship reached orbit without being detected by any sensors. Long-range scans showed New Sol Colony exactly as they had expected. Empty buildings stood like tombstones marking where families had lived and laughed and loved. Streets that once bustled with 9 million people were now silent corridors between ruins. In the central plaza, a single heat signature waited exactly where the alien had broadcast his message of death. Vexstar sat motionless among the memorial stones he had turned into grave markers. His massive form cast shadows across names carved in marble while he waited for Earth to send soldiers he could kill. The hegemony warrior expected desperate humans with inferior weapons and normal reaction times. He had no idea what was coming for him through the darkness above. Morrison went first, dropping from the ship in a stealth pod that made no sound when it hit the ground. His enhanced body absorbed the impact that would have shattered normal human bones. He moved through the colony ruins like death itself, flowing between shadows and using the wreckage to mask his approach. Every step was calculated to avoid detection while bringing him closer to his target. The ghost soldier passed through streets where thousands had died in terror and pain. He saw the bakery where Park Mina had begged for her life before being murdered. He walked past the school where Lee Soo-jin had died protecting children who were killed anyway. His modified mind recorded these locations without emotion, but somewhere, deep inside the small part of him that was still human, burned with righteous fury. Sullivan landed on the opposite side of the colony and began his own approach. His cybernetic systems mapped every building and calculated fields of fire for weapons that did not officially exist. The SEAL training had taught him patience, but the experimental procedures had given him something else, an absolute certainty that he would complete any mission assigned to him no matter what the cost. His enhanced senses detected traces of the massacre that normal humans would never notice. Scorch marks on walls where people had tried to hide. Bloodstains that had soaked into concrete and could not be washed away. The lingering smell of fear that still hung in the air days after everyone who could feel afraid had died. Each piece of evidence added to his determination to make the alien suffer. Both hunters moved through the dead colony like wolves closing in on their prey. They used hand signals and encrypted communication to coordinate their approach while staying invisible to their target. Years of military training combined with inhuman enhancements made them the most dangerous soldiers Earth had ever produced. They were exactly what was needed to hunt something that considered itself the perfect predator. Vexstar sensed something was different but could not identify the threat. His species had evolved as apex predators with senses that could detect enemies from great distances. But these humans moved differently than any soldiers he had faced before. They did not approach like an army or even like elite troops. They stalked him like fellow predators, using shadows and ruins to mask their advance in ways that made his primitive brain feel uncertain. The alien warrior had fought in hundreds of battles across dozens of worlds. He had killed enemy soldiers who were brave and well-trained and desperate to survive. But those had been normal warriors fighting normal wars with rules and tactics that made sense. These humans were something else entirely. They moved like nightmares given form, hunting through the graveyard they had come to avenge. Morrison reached his first firing position on a rooftop 600 meters from the central plaza. His rifle tracked the alien target while his enhanced mind calculated wind speed, bullet drop, and the exact moment to take the shot. The weapon was loaded with ammunition designed to penetrate hegemony armor, and the targeting system was connected directly to his nervous system. This should have been a simple execution. The bullet left the rifle at hypersonic speed and struck Vexstar center mass. But the alien's armor deflected the shot at the last second, sending the projectile spinning into a ruined building. The hegemony warrior roared in surprise and pain as he searched for the source of the attack, his weapon charged with deadly energy. While his 4 eyes scanned the surrounding buildings for targets, return fire obliterated the rooftop where Morrison had been positioned. Alien energy turned concrete and steel into superheated plasma that lit up the night sky. But the ghost soldier was already gone, melting back into the urban maze like smoke. He had expected the first shot to fail. It was just the opening move. In a game that would last much longer than one bullet, Sullivan struck next from a completely different angle. His weapon systems cycled through multiple frequencies, until they found resonance patterns that made the alien's armor sing with harmonic stress. The shots did not penetrate, but they caused pain that no hegemony warrior had ever experienced. Vexstar howled in agony and fury as vibrations traveled through his chitinous plates, like torture made from sound itself. The alien spun toward this new threat, but Sullivan was also gone before return fire could find him. His cybernetic systems had already calculated the next firing position, while his enhanced legs carried him through the ruins faster than normal humans could run. He was not trying to kill their target yet. This was just the beginning of something much worse than simple death. For the first time since arriving on New Sol Colony, Vexstar felt genuine uncertainty. These were not the weak, desperate humans he had expected. They fought like professional killers who understood how to hurt enemies that seemed invulnerable. His armor could stop their weapons, but it could not protect him from the growing realization that he might have made a terrible mistake. Morrison appeared again from a different direction. This time his weapon fired not bullets, but something else. Entirely, micro-explosives struck the ground around the alien and detonated in sequence. Each blast was too small to cause serious damage, but together they created a pattern of destruction that herded Vexstar toward a predetermined location. The human was not just shooting at him. He was manipulating his movements like a chess master, positioning pieces for checkmate. The alien realized he was being hunted by something far more dangerous than normal soldiers. These humans fought with the cold intelligence of apex predators, combined with technology that could challenge hegemony superiority. They were not trying to win a quick victory. They were playing a longer game that involved psychological warfare and tactical manipulation beyond anything in his military experience. Sullivan struck again, with weapons that attacked the alien's enhanced senses, sonic charges tuned to frequencies that disrupted hegemony echolocation, flashbang grenades that overloaded optical sensors, chemical agents that interfered with the creature's ability to smell fear and track enemies. Each attack was designed not just to cause damage, but to remove advantages that had made Vexstar nearly invincible. The hegemony warrior tried to charge toward one of his attackers, but found his path blocked by carefully placed explosives that turned the rubble itself into an obstacle course. He tried to retreat to higher ground, but discovered that every escape route had been mined with devices that would detonate if he approached. The humans had turned the entire colony into a trap. Designed specifically for him, Morrison and Sullivan continued their coordinated assault throughout the night. They did not try to kill their target, but instead focused on wearing him down both physically and mentally. Every time Vexstar thought he had found one of them, he discovered only empty air and the lingering scent of human determination. They were fighting a war that attacked his mind as much as his body. As dawn approached, the alien found himself wounded, exhausted, and afraid for the first time in his military career. His armor was cracked in multiple places, and purple blood stained the memorial stones where he had made his stand. The humans had proven that even hegemony battle veterans could be hurt by enemies who refused to fight fair, but Morrison and Sullivan were just getting started. They had spent one night proving they could hurt their target. Now they were ready to begin the real hunt. The alien who had murdered 9 million innocent people was about to learn what happened when Earth sent its MOS. The second day began with something that made Vexstar question his own sanity. Children voices echoed through the empty streets of New Sol Colony, calling for parents who would never answer again. The sound came from everywhere and nowhere, drifting through the ruins like ghosts of the innocents he had murdered. Morrison had accessed the colony's communication systems and was broadcasting the final recordings of families as they died. Lee, Sujin's voice played over and over, telling her students to stay calm while the alien monster approached their hiding place. Park Mina could be heard begging for her life and promising to do anything if only she could see her daughter grow up. Kim Dae-ho's last words were a prayer for his family's safety, spoken seconds before he was turned to ash. The voices of 9 million people created a symphony of grief that followed Vexstar. Wherever he tried to go, the alien warrior pressed his 4 hands against his audio receptors, trying to block out the sounds, but they seemed to come from inside his own head. Hegemony psychology was not designed to handle this kind of mental assault. His species fought direct battles where warriors met face to face and the strongest survived. These humans were attacking his mind with weapons made from the memories of their own dead. Sullivan had spent the night rigging the colony's remaining power systems to create false heat signatures throughout the abandoned buildings. Thermal scans now showed hundreds of human-shaped figures moving through structures that should have been empty. Every time Vexstar investigated one of these contacts, he found nothing but empty rooms and the lingering smell of human determination mixed with alien fear. The psychological warfare was designed to exhaust their target while conserving their own energy. Every false alarm forced the alien to waste ammunition and reveal his position. Every ghost contact made him more paranoid and more likely to make mistakes. Morrison and Sullivan watched from hidden positions as their enemy slowly lost his mind. Trying to fight enemies that existed only in sensor readings and audio recordings, Morrison left small gifts throughout the colony for Vexstar to find during his patrols. Photographs of the families the alien had murdered placed where he would encounter them while searching for his hunters. Each image was accompanied by a simple message written in the hegemony language. They had names. They had lives. They had people who loved them. You killed them anyway. The pictures showed Kim Dae-ho with his wife and children smiling at a birthday party. Park Min-na teaching her daughter how to bake bread in their little kitchen. Lee Soo-jin reading stories to her class while 30 young faces looked up at her with trust and affection. Every photograph was a reminder that the alien had not just killed numbers on a casualty report. He had murdered real people with real dreams and real families who would never see them again. Vexstar tried to ignore the photographs, but his enhanced memory made that impossible. His species had evolved perfect recall as a survival mechanism, but now that gift had become a curse. Every face stared at him from his own mind, accusing him of crimes that suddenly felt different than they had during the massacre. These were not just prey animals that needed to be eliminated. They had been people. Sullivan began the next phase of their psychological assault by using the colony's emergency broadcast system to play recordings of children singing lullabies their mothers had taught them. The innocent voices drifted through empty playgrounds where small bodies had been burned to ash. They echoed in abandoned schools where teachers had died protecting students who trusted them to keep them safe. The alien warrior found himself remembering details about the massacre that he had not thought about for days. The way some humans had tried to shield others with their own bodies. How parents had held their children close during their final moments. The tears on Lee Soo-jin's face as she stood between him and her classroom full of terrified students. These memories had not bothered him before, but now they felt like poison spreading through his consciousness. Morrison appeared briefly on a distant rooftop holding a sign written in the hegemony language. How does it feel to be hunted? The message was visible for only seconds before he vanished back into the ruins, but it burned itself into Vexstar memory like a brand. For the first time in his military career, the perfect predator was experiencing what his victims had felt during their final moments. Fear. The psychological pressure continued building throughout the day. Sullivan used hacking tools to access the colony's educational network and broadcast school lessons that dead teachers had recorded for their students. Mathematics and history and literature shared by people who had believed in building a better future for their children. Their voices spoke about hope and knowledge and the importance of being kind to others. Vexstar had never been exposed to human culture beyond military intelligence reports that described them as weak and inferior. Listening to their teachers and parents and community leaders speak about love and education and peaceful cooperation created cognitive dissonance in his warrior mind. These were not the savage primitives his briefings had described. They had been civilized people who built schools instead of weapons. The alien tried to focus on his mission parameters but found his concentration shattered by the constant psychological assault. Every attempt to rest was interrupted by children crying for their mothers. Every scan for enemies revealed more false contacts that wasted his time and energy. Every patrol brought him face to face with more photographs of the innocent people he had murdered in cold blood. Morrison began leaving pieces of personal belongings throughout the colony. A child's toy found in the wreckage of their home. A wedding ring recovered from ashes that had once been someone's wife. A teacher's grade book with notes about student progress and dreams for their futures. Each item was a reminder that real lives had been destroyed, not just enemy casualties eliminated. The psychological warfare was having effects beyond what the two ghosts had originally planned. Vextar began talking to himself as he patrolled the empty streets, muttering in the hegemony language about voices that would not stop and faces that haunted his dreams. His perfect military discipline was cracking under pressure designed to break minds that had never experienced guilt or remorse. Sullivan decided to escalate their mental assault by broadcasting the colony's last transmission. It was a message sent to Earth in the final minutes before everyone died. Desperate voices begging for help that would never come in time. Parents saying goodbye to children on other worlds. Teachers promising their students that someone would remember their names even after they were gone. The transmission ended with Mayor Kim Hoseok's final words as Vextar weapon charged for the shot that would kill him. "We forgive you because forgiveness is what makes us human. Even now, even as you murder our families, we will not become monsters like you. Someone will remember that we chose love over hatred until the very end." Those words hit the alien warrior like physical blows. His victims had not cursed him or sworn revenge as they died. They had forgiven him. They had maintained their humanity even while facing extinction from a creature that had never learned what mercy meant. The contrast between their nobility and his brutality created pain in parts of his mind that he did not know existed. Morrison appeared again, this time close enough for Vextar to see his face clearly. The human looked at him with eyes that held no hatred despite everything the alien had done. That lack of rage was somehow more terrifying than any weapon. The ghost soldier spoke in perfect hegemony dialect, delivering a message that would haunt their target dreams forever. They died with forgiveness in their hearts while you live with murder in yours. Which one of us is really the monster? The psychological warfare had accomplished exactly what Morrison and Sullivan intended. They had turned their enemy's greatest strength, his perfect memory, and enhanced senses into weapons that attacked his own sanity. Vextar was no longer just fighting two human soldiers. He was fighting the ghosts of 9 million innocent people, whose voices would never leave him alone. The alien warrior was exhausted, wounded, and mentally broken. But Morrison and Sullivan were not finished with him yet. They had spent 2 days proving they could hurt him both physically and psychologically. Now it was time to begin the final phase of their hunt. The creature that had murdered children, while they begged for mercy, was about to learn what real monsters looked like when they stopped pretending to be human. The third night brought a change in tactics that made Vextar realize his hunters were done playing games. The psychological warfare had been preparation for something much worse. Morrison and Sullivan had studied their enemy for days, learning his patterns and weaknesses. Now they were ready to show him what happened when Earth sent its most dangerous children to collect a blood debt. Sullivan breached the aliens' temporary shelter using demolition techniques that turned the building's own structure into a weapon against its occupant. Charges placed at precise structural points caused the entire facility to collapse inward like a closing fist. Vextar barely escaped the crushing debris, but his movement patterns had been predicted, and Morrison was waiting with weapons designed specifically to kill hegemony warriors. The rifle bullets were not normal ammunition, but specialized rounds that changed their properties after impact. The first shot penetrated the alien's armor and began releasing microscopic machines that attacked his nervous system from the inside. The second shot carried chemical agents designed to disrupt hegemony blood chemistry. The third shot was purely kinetic energy meant to cause maximum tissue damage to internal organs. Vextar screamed in agony as alien sensations flooded his enhanced awareness. His species had evolved resistance to most forms of poison and disease, but these weapons had been created by humans who understood xenobiology better than the aliens understood themselves. Every shot was a carefully calculated assault on biological systems that were supposed to be invulnerable. The alien warrior tried to return fire, but his weapon's targeting systems had been compromised by electromagnetic pulses that Sullivan triggered from multiple positions around the battlefield. His four eyes could still track movement, but the technological advantages that made hegemony soldiers nearly unstoppable were being stripped away. Layer by layer. Morrison appeared from shadows like death given form. His enhanced body moved with predatory grace while his rifle cycled through different types of ammunition designed to cause specific forms of suffering. This was not combat anymore. This was an execution being carried out by weapons that looked human but thought like machines, programmed only for killing. Purple blood began staining the memorial stones where Vextar made his desperate stand. For the first time since arriving on New Sol Colony, he was the one being hunted. The humans had turned him from predator into prey using tactics that attacked every advantage his species possessed. He was learning what 9 million innocent people had felt during their final moments. Sullivan struck from the opposite direction with weapons that attacked the aliens, enhanced senses. Flashbang grenades tuned to frequencies that overloaded optical receptors, sonic charges that disrupted echolocation and made it impossible to track enemies by sound, chemical agents that burned away his ability to smell fear and follow scent trails. The coordinated assault continued for hours as Morrison and Sullivan demonstrated why they had been chosen for Project Ghost. They fought with the cold efficiency of machines, but underneath lay a burning human rage that made them more dangerous than any technology. They were avenging 9 million murders, and they intended to make their enemies suffer for every single death. Vextar tried to retreat to higher ground, but found his path blocked by mines that had been placed during the previous 2 days. He attempted to charge toward one of his attackers, but discovered that every approach route had been prepared with explosive devices that channeled his movement exactly where the humans wanted him to go. Morrison fired again with ammunition that caused different types of damage. Rounds that released acid to eat through armor plating. Bullets that carried electrical charges to disrupt nervous system function. Shots that delivered toxins specifically designed to cause pain without immediate death. Each weapon had been created to make the alien suffer in ways his species had never experienced. The alien warrior realized he was facing enemies who understood warfare on a level that surpassed even hegemony military science. These humans had studied his species' biology and psychology until they knew exactly how to cause maximum suffering. They were not trying to win a quick victory. They were systematically destroying him piece by piece. Sullivan appeared close enough for conversation, speaking in perfect hegemony dialect. His cybernetic systems had analyzed the alien's vocal patterns and were now using psychological techniques designed to break his will to fight. He spoke about the children who had died crying for their parents, the teachers who had sacrificed themselves trying to protect their students, the families who had died holding each other close. Do you remember their faces when you killed them? Do you remember how they begged you to stop? 9 million people died because you wanted to send a message to Earth. Now we are here to send a message back. Morrison joined the conversation from another angle. His enhanced memory had recorded every detail from the massacre footage, and he began reciting the names of specific victims. Kim Dae-ho, who died trying to help others. Park Min-ah, who just wanted to see her daughter grow up. Lee Soo-jin, who stood between a monster and her students until the very end. The alien tried to block out their words, but his perfect recall made that impossible. Every name was connected to a face, and every face was connected to a moment of death that he had caused. The humans were using his own memory against him, turning his greatest asset into a weapon that attacked his sanity. Both hunters pressed their attack with renewed intensity. Morrison weapons cycled through frequencies that found resonance patterns in the alien's bone structure, causing internal damage that could not be healed. Sullivan deployed chemical agents that attacked specific organs while avoiding immediate death. They wanted their enemy to suffer for as long as possible. Vextar felt his strength failing as the specialized weapons took their toll on his enhanced physiology. His armor was cracked and leaking vital fluids. His weapon systems were damaged beyond repair. His enhanced senses were compromised by chemical agents that made everything taste like the fear of dying children. The alien warrior had fought in hundreds of battles, but none had prepared him for enemies like these. Morrison and Sullivan were not just soldiers. They were avatars of human rage given form and substance. They fought with the fury of every parent who had lost a child and every teacher who had died protecting their students. Morrison appeared directly in front of their wounded enemy, holding a photograph of Lee Soo-jin's final moments. The image showed the teacher standing in front of her classroom door with arms spread wide, trying to shield 30 terrified children from the monster that would kill them all. She died for them, and you killed her anyway. You murdered children who trusted her to keep them safe. Now you get to experience what they felt during their last moments alive. Sullivan activated the final phase of their assault. Weapons that had been positioned throughout the battlefield during 3 days of preparation fired simultaneously. The alien found himself trapped in a crossfire designed to cause maximum pain while preventing escape or quick death. Every shot was calculated to damage specific body parts while keeping him conscious and aware. Vexstar screamed as human technology tore through alien flesh with scientific precision. These were not random attacks but surgical strikes designed by people who understood exactly how to make a hegemony warrior suffer. The humans had turned killing into an art form, and they were painting their masterpiece with purple blood on memorial stones. The alien warrior who had murdered 9 million innocent people was finally learning what justice felt like when delivered by enemies who refused to show mercy to those who had shown none to others. Morrison and Sullivan were not heroes. They were weapons forged by human love and tempered by alien brutality. As Vexstar life ebbed away among the graves of his victims, he understood the terrible mistake his species had made. They had assumed humans were weak because they valued peace and cooperation, but they had never considered what would happen when those peaceful creatures were pushed beyond the breaking point. The galaxy was about to learn that there were monsters worse than hegemony warriors hiding in the darkness between stars. Sometimes the most terrifying predators were the ones who fought not for conquest or glory but for love of those who could no longer protect themselves. Vexstar lay dying among the memorial stones he had turned into grave markers for 9 million innocent people. His 4 eyes stared up at the alien stars while purple blood pooled beneath his massive body. Morrison stood over the creature that had murdered children and felt no satisfaction in its suffering. This was not about revenge anymore. This was about sending a message that would echo across the galaxy for generations. Sullivan activated the same quantum beacon that Vexstar had used to broadcast the massacre of New Sol Colony. But instead of showing human weakness, the transmission would demonstrate something that would make every alien civilization reconsider their assumptions about humanity. The footage began recording as Morrison delivered Earth's response to the hegemony empire's message of terror. We are humanity. You killed our children. Now, you know what happens when you make us angry. The words were spoken in perfect hegemony dialect, but the meaning translated into every known language in the galaxy. Sullivan had spent 3 days documenting their hunt using hidden cameras positioned throughout the colony. The footage showed 2 human soldiers systematically destroying a hegemony battle veteran using tactics that bordered on artistic cruelty. Every alien civilization that received the transmission would see Morrison and Sullivan move through the ruins like death itself. They would watch the psychological warfare that had broken their enemy mind before his body was damaged. They would witness the methodical way Earth soldiers had turned a perfect killing machine into a broken creature begging for mercy that would never come. The message was edited to show specific moments that would have maximum psychological impact on alien viewers. Vexstar screaming as specialized weapons attacked his nervous system. The alien warrior reduced to tears by recordings of the children he had murdered. The moment when his perfect military discipline cracked and he began talking to ghosts that existed only in his own guilt. But the most important part of the transmission was what came next. Morrison knelt beside the dying alien. and spoke directly into the camera while maintaining eye contact with viewers across the galaxy. His enhanced features showed no emotion, but his words carried the weight of every human who had ever lost someone they loved to